Hello everyone, I'm Cesar and I'm back with another video for Path of Exile. And I'm finally back with another build. This time is a custom crit Ice Spear Occultist. As usual, you can find the POV in the description of the video. And this time there are going to be two POVs. One without Mageblood and the other one with Mageblood. And the price for the version without Mageblood is around 75 divines, more or less. And with Mageblood, the total price is around 450 divines. And the difference between these two versions of the build are, of course, the damage. Without Mageblood, the build has around 22 million DPS against pinnacle bosses, like Shaper and Cyrus. And for the Mageblood version, we have around 34 million DPS. And also the other difference is that the Mageblood version is much more tanky than the version without Mageblood, because we can go for things like melding of the flesh and get maximum resistances. And also we have a lot of quality of life, because Mageblood fixes a lot of problems like getting attack speed, mana problems, resistance problems, etc. So in this video, I'll be focusing on the Mageblood version of this build, and all the gameplay that you're seeing right now is with Mageblood. And this is a very strong build, to be fair. It can do pretty much everything in the game. Mapping, Simulacrum, all the way to wave 30, you can do it without many problems, really. It's also a very good boss killer, it can do all the different invitations, feared without any problems. It can kill Uber bosses as well. I have managed to kill all the 7 Uber bosses. At the end of the video, there will be a full Uber Maven fight, so if you want to watch that part, you can use the timestamps below. So here we are in game. We're an Occultist, level 98. The reason why we're an Occultist is because we can stack power charges. Power charges give us crit chance, and of course, since we're a custom crit build, we want to get 100% crit chance, or as close as possible. And we also get some nice cold damage, and also explosions with Profane Bloom. The other thing that we want to get in a custom crit build is cooldown recovery rate. And we get that in two ways. The first one is with an Awakened Custom Crit Gem. We get 34% increase cooldown recovery rate at level 9. And the second one is with our boots, where we can get 16 to 20% increased cooldown recovery rate with the elevated mod. And we want to get at least 18% on the boots, so in total we want to get 52. I have, well, 34 plus 20, 54, but you want to get at least 52 because of how the cooldown rate and the breakpoints for custom crit work. This is a table that you have probably seen if you have played a custom crit build before. Basically, this means how often your spell triggers depending on your cooldown recovery rate. So if you have 0, you want to have 6.6 or less attack rate. This is your attack speed. If you have 14, you want to have 7.57. If you have 52 cooldown recovery rate, which is what we have, you want to have this or less, 10.10 attack rate. Now, how do you check your attack rate? You can check it on PoE. If you check the PoE, here on the Ice Spear, this part, effective trigger rate, this is your attack rate. I have 9.80. And attack rate is basically attack speed. Everything that gives you attack speed affects your attack rate. So onslaught, attack speed rolls on your gear, like on the gloves, on the ring, on the flask, etc. But anyway, Mageblood fixes a lot of the problems in this build. It fixes our mana cost, it gives us a lot of movement speed, good amount of armor, attack speed, crit, and also elemental resistances. The elemental resistances mean that we can actually go for melding of the flesh, so we can have max resistances. I have 86 in total, and I'm focusing on getting cold resistance. We already get 5 from our shield, Aegis Aurora, and I'm also running Purity of Ice. Now you want your Purity of Ice to be level 23, so you get 5 additional max cold res, instead of 4 that you get at level 21 and 22. In this case, to get level 23, I have an extra level on the weapon, and also an extra level with this tattoo, +1 to all dexterity skill gems. Now you can also get +1 level as a craft on your helmet, +1 AoE, I believe is the craft. Yeah, since Purity of Ice is an AoE gem. You can also get it on the gloves as well. So yeah, there are a few different ways. And we also get max cold resistance with these tattoos that give +1 max cold res. But these are actually decently expensive. 3.2 divines at the moment for each tattoo. I have 2 of them. You can get another one if you want right here. But I didn't find it necessary. So I'm also using these tattoos that give 3% increased global defenses. Global defenses give armor and energy shield, which are better than 10 intelligence, which only gives energy shield. I think, and I have many of these tattoos, I think in total I get like 5 or 6,000 armor just from the tattoos. And a bit of extra yes, which is pretty nice. The rest of the tree, so pretty standard power charge stacking tree. So get all the masteries, all the wheels, the clusters, a standard crit gold clusters with the mana reservation, small ones. The Watcher's Eye is pretty important. Important to get the ES on hit. It's a very good defensive mechanic. And also you can get an extra damage mod. Like this one is pretty cheap, 3 or 4 divines for this Celadry mod. Another important thing is the Timeless Jewel, Militant Faith. Make sure that it says Dominus in the name, High Templar Dominus. And then I went for elemental resistances and elemental damage. Other useful modifiers that you can get is reduced mana cost. If you're having mana problems, go for the reduced mana cost and probably the elemental damage. You can also get Hour Effect if you want. And when buying your Timeless Jewel, be careful that it doesn't convert your instability and your Heart of Ice nodes, because it can convert notables, like here for example. So you can put the jewel on PoE and check if it converts the stability and the Heart of Ice node. And of course, we get this jewel so we can get Inner Conviction, so we get more spell damage per power charge. And for the rest of the gear, just try to get the important modifiers. For the weapon, for example, the prefixes are pretty good. Spell damage, +1 levels, and hits can be evaded as a crafted, veiled modifier from Vacants. You also want to get crit chance as a suffix, crit multi, and also attack speed, which I don't have. That would be an ideal weapon. The helmet, double influence with power charge, and also nearby enemies have negative cold resistance, with an energy shield base of course, and enchant for the additional projectile for Ice Spear. Then the amulet, replica Dragon Fangs, is actually pretty nice. It gives us attributes, some resistances, of course, +3 levels to Ice Spear, mana reservation efficiency, which is pretty nice, and reduced attribute requirements, which is actually useful, because we can go for a few extra of these tattoos, and also we don't have to get as many strength as dexterity. The rings are pretty basic. This one is just resistance with the mana cost craft and a bit of attack speed. This one is a curse on hit with frostbite. Ideally, if you have a lot of currency, you can buy rings with the power charge implicit, +1 maximum power charges, but those are very expensive. You can buy one and then buy a Calandra ring so you can mirror your power charge ring. But I think those rings are going for like 300 divines at the moment. And the Calandra ring, I don't know, maybe 60, 70 divines. So it's probably worth more than the Mageblood itself. Only on the 2 rings. But I don't have those. The boots, you want elevated cooldown recovery rate. Try to get Tailwind as well if you can. Elevated is nice. I have Pierce on my boots. Normally you wouldn't have Pierce. The normal way to get Pierce in this build is with Ice Spear, with the Anomalous Ice Spear. With 20 quality, you can get double Pierce, or Pierce to additional enemies. But keep in mind that it is actually quite expensive. And then for the gloves, I just went for ES as much as possible on your prefixes, and the suffixes, resistances, and also the temple mod, so you can get 40% increased damage extra. And an open suffix to craft attack speed. Then the gems, you can check them on the PoE. A few extra things to mention: make sure that your Awakened Custom Crit is level 6 if you're using a Mageblood, so you can get your cooldown recovery rate, your 52 cooldown recovery rate, only from the gem and also the boots. And don't forget to get the Mastery, +3 level of all critical support gems. Then your Sniper's Mark, make sure to link it to Inspiration so it doesn't cost too much mana, so you can actually use it. In my case, I only have 3 mana, and the only mana cost that I have are Sniper's Mark 2 mana, Flame Dash 2 mana, and Cyclone 1 mana. I don't really have mana problems, but if you do have mana problems, you can get the reduced mana cost on your Militant Faith. Or you can also get another Enlighten level 4. I only have 1 Enlighten level 4, and the other one is level 3. So here I can get some extra mana. But anyways, that's it for this build. So I hope you enjoy the build. If you decide to play it, it is a really strong build. It's pretty fun to play as well with Cyclone. But of course, it's very expensive and it has a Mageblood. But it can do pretty much everything in the game. So, thank you very much for watching and take care. Bye bye.
The prize piece comes to join.
My collection.
Take this.
Pain will be returned tenfold. Space aligns. Behold my connection.
I will have what I want. This will not be an escape. Scurry, scurry. A cascade of pain. My collection. Stand still. Take this. Why?
Resistance will be punished. Time controls.
My irritation is growing. This will not be an escape. Scurry.
When I'm ready, I'm not prepared.
Stand still! A cascade
Death
of
made
pain!
real.
Do what I say! Stand still! How?
Stop resisting. Reality bends. Punishment inescapable.
Arrogant toy! Death will not be an escape. Scurry. Take this. Stand still. The prettiest piece makes the whole complete. Do what I say. A cascade of pain.
Require aid. The living toy must